What if the biggest improvements in your life didn't come from some complicated self-help strategy? What if they came from a handful of simple decisions that you made over and over again? Today, we're kicking off a two-part series called The 5 Things Jen and Nicole Do That Make Life Easier, Happier, and More Meaningful, aka our life hacks. These aren't productivity hacks. They're not shortcuts, and they're definitely not things we learned from social media. These are the habits, the mindsets, and the choices that have genuinely made our lives better. The things we keep coming back to because they actually work. Today, I'm sharing 3 of mine, and Nicole is sharing 3 of hers. And while they may seem completely unrelated, all of them have helped us create a life that feels more intentional, more meaningful, and honestly, a heck of a lot more enjoyable.
Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I'll weave them in my song.
Welcome back to Lessons of the Journey, the real life playbook. Today we're beginning a fun 2-part series where Jen and I are sharing the top life hacks that have had the biggest impact on our own lives. Not because they're trendy, not because they're groundbreaking, but because they've consistently made life better for us. These are the things we invest our time, our energy, and our attention into because the return on investment has been enormous for us. Let's jump into Jen's first life hack.
All right. No surprise to anybody. Life hack number 1 for Jen is the 4 agreements. If you're a regular listener, I know. But so much. If I had to choose one book that has made the biggest impact on my entire life, it would definitely be the 4 agreements. What's funny is that I didn't immediately love it. The first couple of times I read it, it felt like super woo-woo. It was talking about like dreams within a dream. And I was like, I understand the words, but I really wasn't picking up on the wisdom behind them. For some reason, I kept getting called back to it. And every time that I would go back to it, I discovered something new. And the ideas began to feel less philosophical and more practical. Eventually, I stopped reading it as a collection of concepts and I started using it as a guide for my daily life. What really changed things for me was realizing that each agreement gave me something I could immediately practice. For example, don't take anything personally. If somebody sends a short email or doesn't return a text or makes a comment that feels critical, my old habit was to create a story about it. Oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Are they upset with me? Did I offend them? And this agreement reminds me that most of the time, people's actions aren't about what's going on with me. It's what's happening in their own world. Don't make assumptions. How often do we fill in the blanks with a story we've completely invented? None of it's true at all. It's the story we're telling ourselves. If someone doesn't call, if a friend seems distant, or if a colleague says something vague, instead of asking questions, we create this narrative and then react to the story as though it's true. This agreement taught me to seek clarity instead of certainty. And that means to ask questions and be curious and to check my assumptions before believing them. I'm crazy about being impeccable with my word. It's the agreement that I practice the most often. And it's not just about telling the truth. It's about the words we use with ourselves and others. So do I speak kindly about people when they're not in the room? Do I keep commitments I make? Do I gossip? Do I use words that build people or tear them down? Maybe most importantly, what am I saying to myself? Because I know that my own brain is listening to my own voice tell me how it is. Because I've learned that the longest conversation I'll ever have is the one happening inside my own head. And then, of course, there's always do your best. This agreement really freed me from perfectionism. On my best day when I'm rested and energized is different than when I'm not feeling well. The agreement doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for honesty. What I love most about the 4 agreements is that they're not theories. They're actually practices. They're things I can apply in traffic, in business, in my relationship, in my friendships, in really difficult conversations, and in the way I talk to myself. I found that a practice eventually became a way of living. And when I tell people that it changed my life, this practice literally changed my life. There you go.
Love it. We're so shocked, Jen, that it's on your list.
I can't preach it unless I live it.
So how long have you personally been practicing the 4 agreements?
A good 15 years now. And I remember it because it was actually the year after I moved to Hawaii. And I remember going, this is so like, oh, we're talking about dreams. It just felt really like, I consider myself a very practical person. Yeah, 15 years ago, it didn't hit me in the gut like it hits me now. I read this book annually just to make sure that it stays inside. And whenever I find myself stressed, frustrated, offended, feeling drama, I can always trace it back to me breaking one of these agreements. So for 15 years, it's been a practice. Am I perfect at it? No. You're going to find me correcting my language regularly in mid-conversation sometimes. And it is the practice that keeps the consistency and the drama away from living a happy life, I think.
That's a good answer. I'm 100% on board with you. I love the 4 agreements. I've known about them for as long as you have, but I have not practiced them. That's the difference, is that you've really dove deep into that pool. If you listen to our episode on the 4 agreements, you'll find out quickly that Jen is an expert. So that's awesome.
Thanks, Nicole.
All right. My first life hack. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you probably already know that I love to travel. And yes, I love seeing beautiful places and having new experiences. But travel has given me so much more than vacations. The first reason travel has been life-changing is that it expands my view of the world. When you travel, you realize very quickly that there are 1,000 different ways to live a great life. People drive differently, people eat differently, people prioritize different things, and sometimes they put 2 twin beds together and call it a king-size bed. That is still not my favorite, all you Europeans. But what travel constantly reminds me is that my way isn't the only way. That realization really does create curiosity, flexibility, and a much deeper appreciation for how diverse human life really is. The second benefit is that travel interrupts my personal patterns. Most of us spend a lot of our lives on autopilot. We wake up, we follow the same routines, we drive the same roads, we talk to the same people. Travel breaks that cycle. Suddenly you're navigating a new city, you're trying new foods, you're learning new systems. It pulls you out of your habits and invites you back into the present moment. I always come home feeling like my brain has been stretched in the best possible way. And the third benefit may sound a little surprising, but travel feeds my creativity. I love planning trips. I love researching destinations. I love figuring out where to stay and what to explore. If you listen to our AI episodes, I go into detail about that. And when I get home, I create photo books that allow me to relive the experience all over again. So for me, travel isn't just an experience. It's a creative project before, during, and after the trip. And that creative energy fills a part of me that I never want to neglect.
I know, Nicole, every time I see your photos, I'm like, she's just living the best life. I know you've been so many places. If you had to choose one favorite of all time, where would that be?
Right now, my favorite is New Zealand. I love the people. The land was absolutely stunning. I had to laugh because one of our drivers in Auckland, which is the biggest city in New Zealand, said, "We know you have road rage. We don't understand why you get mad with other drivers. We don't think there's any point to it. But if you'd like, I can yell at people so you can feel like you're at home." And I'm like, no, I want to feel like I'm here. They're just really
so
kind
funny.
people to each other. Right now, it's New Zealand. I'm a big fan and I can't wait to go back.
Yeah. I love that he offered that for you. He's like,
It was
listen,
hilarious.
I want to create an experience for you.
Yeah, if you want, I can do it. Instead, he's on the freeway and he pauses and lets people in. Okay, this is not the experience you usually get in the United States of America. Yeah.
And then in your travels, what has been the most surprising thing for you to discover outside of the US?
It's always the little things. It's the fact that in most European countries, they don't have big refrigerators. They have small refrigerators and they shop every single day at their local market and buy fresh food. It's things like that. Just how people experience life, how people show up in the world. Honestly, one of my favorite things is just to walk down a side street, and this is going to sound a little creepy, but look in the windows. And we're not talking about shops. We're talking about people's homes. I'm like, I see how you experience your home. I'm like I'm a creeper because I'm really curious how people live just in their day-to-day worlds. It fascinates me.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
If I had to pick the single most impressive thing, I don't know exactly what your question was. I've been through Europe. I've seen a million gazillion churches, chapels, cathedrals. There's the seventh church. Thanks anyway, I'm good. In Barcelona, La Sagrada Familia was absolutely impressive. And I was amazed. I was impressed because it's a cathedral, but it's nothing like you've ever seen. So that really surprised me. Because I did it just because everybody said, oh, you have to see it. But I was like, yeah, another friggin' church in a European country, whatever.
It gotcha.
Now I get it. Yeah. It's like a light show of nature. It's impressive. Nothing like any church I've ever seen. So that would probably be my most impressive building that I've seen.
All right. Add to bucket list.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pretty cool. Although I'm not sure how Barcelona feels about tourists right now. I know there's been some issues. So maybe not right now.
Okay. My second hack is language. You guys know me. You know me probably way too well. This principle is so important to me that I thought it deserved its own place on the list outside of being impeccable with your words from the 4 agreement, because of course it does overlap. I have become convinced that language doesn't just describe your reality, it helps create it. The words we choose matters. The stories we tell ourselves matter. The questions we ask ourselves matter. And over the years, I've just become increasingly aware of how often we unknowingly reinforce our own limitations and other people's limitations through our language. We say things like, I have to, or I can't, or this always happens to me, or I'm so terrible at that. After a while, they become beliefs. And just one of the simplest shifts that I've made is changing I have to into I get to. Or instead of saying should, I actually express the real desire behind the judgment. Instead of claiming things that I am, I have shifted my language to having. And it's a small shift, but it completely changes the energy of any statement. An easy one we do all the time. I have to go to work, or I get to go to work. I have to work out, or I get to move my body and take care of my health. Now, the circumstances haven't changed, but the perspective, because of the language, has. The same is true when I catch myself thinking that I can't do something. Most of the time, the truth is not that I cannot. It's that I have not learned how yet. I've also noticed that the quality of our lives is definitely connected to the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves. If I would say to myself, why does this always happen to me? My brain, it will farm my entire life and gladly provide answers as to why that is true. But if I ask, what can I learn from this? The answers change completely. So language shapes our focus. Focus shapes our experience, and experience shapes our reality. And the stories we tell ourselves become the lenses through which we see the world. If we repeat those stories long enough, they eventually start to feel like facts. So one of the fastest ways I found to improve my life is become more conscious of the words that I'm speaking every day. That's to myself and to others, because the stories we repeat eventually become the lives we live. And if we can speak life into somebody, why wouldn't we do that? Changing my language literally has changed my world.
You and I have talked about so many different variations of the way we say things. I have to ask you, Jen, how often in a week do you look up a word in the dictionary or Google?
Several, 3 to 4 times. Yeah, when Paul and I first got together, there was a language barrier. And the way he was raised, where he came from, was a million degrees different from me. The agreements tell us that I'm making assumptions because I think I already know the answers, but I also think I already know what a word means. And maybe somebody else is using a different definition. I found that we would get into arguments because we had different definitions of the same word. I did it just this week. Somebody was talking about bullying, and I looked up bullying to make sure that I was very clear on what that was, because what she was describing was not, in fact, bullying. I regularly go back to, are we always working off of the same definitions? And life is so inclusive. I very quickly change buts to ands because it's in my consciousness. most of the world is inclusive, and we live in a both and world, and there's so much gray area. So to negate a thing that I just said by using but just doesn't make sense to me because of how I feel about language. The people who know me recognize what I'm doing, and the people that I coach know exactly what I'm doing because I practice what I preach. That, I think, is a necessary component for the way I'm choosing to go about my days.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're always working on the words, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I have to thank you for that, because you've brought that into my world way more than it ever was before we started working together. Thank you.
Thanks.
The second life hack that I swear by is understanding my values. And this one may have changed my life more than anything else, because once you understand what truly matters to you, decision making becomes so much easier. It really helps me spend my money intentionally. When I know what I value, I stop spending money on things that I should want and start spending money on things that genuinely improve my life. For me, travel is really a perfect example. Some people value luxury cars. Some people value designer handbags. Some people value a large home. I value experiences. Knowing that allows me to allocate my resources in a way that feels aligned instead of random. The second benefit is that it quiets the noise. We live in a world that constantly tells us what we should want, what we should buy, what success should look like, how we should spend our time. But when I know my values, those outside messages lose some of their power, because I already have my own internal filter. I know which relationships matter most. I know which activities fill me up. I know what creates meaning in my life. And that knowledge helps me tune out a lot of that unnecessary noise. And the third benefit is that values create clarity. Whenever I feel stuck, if I'm overwhelmed, if I'm uncertain, I can ask a simple question. Do I value this? And if the answer is yes, what exactly do I value about it? That question almost always helps me find my next step. Because ultimately, I believe we can create a better life when we're clear about what we're trying to build. If you don't know what you're building, how do you know how to get there? You don't know. It's very difficult to design your best life if you don't know what your best life actually looks like to you.
Boom. I have a question about this, because this is something through you that I focused a lot more on in my family. The values that you have today, are they values that you were brought up with, or did you discover your own values along the way?
You're going to have values, of course, that are going to be carried along with you since you were young. One of my values that I've brought since I was young is to speak up for people who can't speak up for themselves. That will probably never change. I was born with it. I'm just one of those people. If they can't speak up for themselves, I will. That's part of my core, and it will never change. I will be that way until I die. At least I hope so. That being said, there are many values I have that I never had when I was younger, because they weren't opportunities or things that were a part of my world. I always go back to that thought of, hey, maybe I would have been really good at riding horses. But guess what? We didn't have horses when I grew up. So you have to introduce experiences and then go, do I like that? By the way, I like riding horses, but not too terribly much, because it does hurt my butt. And we can say butt in that instance. Point being, yes, there are some values you absolutely have and that are part of you and probably always going to be part of you. But then other things is it's asking about everything. Do I value this? All of the things in your world, it sounds strange, but you can really ask it about almost anything. The more you get granular with your values, the more clear you get on what your world looks like. Think about it. If you're creating your perfect life, it's almost like creating a home. Let's say you were with an architect and you designed a home and you said, I want 3 bedrooms, I want 2 bathrooms, I want 2,000 square feet, and I want a 2-car garage. And that's all you told them. And you told them nothing else. That place could look absolutely like nothing you would want to live in. Let's say you're a person who loves an Adobe style and they build you a French country cottage and you're like, what is this? And they put in a tile you don't like and a this you don't like and a that you don't like. But it's because they never said, what kind of tile do you want in your bathroom? What kind of style do you want your house to be? That's how granular I get with my values. And I'm just using that as an analogy.
Mm-hmm.
When I travel, what experience do I want? When I go to the gym, what experience do I want? Asking yourself, what feeds me? Not what's expected, but what feeds me.
Yes. Oh, so good. Okay. Life hack number 3 for Jen is don't carry other people's shit. Now, this life hack may have taken me the longest to learn. I mean, still working on it. For most of, if not all of my life, I carried things that didn't belong to me. We just came out of some shame episodes and it was hitting really hard. These things that didn't belong to me were other people's opinions, other people's expectations, other people's disappointments, other people's emotions. I think most of us do this without even realizing it. We walk around carrying this invisible backpack filled with burdens that were never ours to carry. At some point, I realized something that was incredibly freeing, and that was caring about someone and carrying their burden are not the same thing. I can love someone without fixing them. I can support someone without taking responsibility for their choices. I can listen without absorbing their emotions. I can care deeply without making their problems my problems. For me, a lot of this came back to ego, and not ego in the traditional sense of arrogance, but ego in the sense that we regularly think everything is about us. Cue the agreements, right? Someone is upset and we assume it's because of us. Someone is disappointed and we feel responsible for some reason. Someone criticizes us and we carry it around for days. Someone's having a bad day and somehow we decide that it's our job to make it better for them. The reality is that most people are navigating their own fears, challenges, beliefs, and stories. And their reactions have way more to do with them than they have to do with us. One of the most liberating realizations I've ever had is that not everything that lands on your doorstep belongs in your house. I get that this can sound dismissive at first. I know it can sound like I'm saying, it's not my problem, good luck, hope it goes well for you, but that's not what I mean at all. I've found that the opposite is actually true. When I was carrying other people's stuff, I wasn't actually helping them very much. I was worrying for them. I was stressing out for them. I was trying to fix things for them. I was taking responsibility for outcomes that were not mine to control or be in charge of. What I've learned is that healthy support and unhealthy ownership are two very different things. I can sit beside someone without carrying them. I can listen without absorbing. I can support without rescuing. I can care deeply without taking responsibility for their choices, emotions, or outcomes. And learning not to carry other people's stuff has actually made me more compassionate, not less, because I'm able to show up from a place of love instead of obligation. I can serve instead of control, and I can support instead of rescue. And I found that people grow the most when they're allowed to carry their own backpack. I can walk beside them, but I don't need to wear it for them. And this single idea has given me healthier boundaries, less emotional exhaustion, and way more peace. Whenever I find myself getting pulled into someone else's drama or expectations, emotions, problems, I have a few reminders. I'd like to share them with you. Everybody may have heard, not my monkey, not my circus. I use that one quite a bit, but we found some new ones. Not my boat, not my storm. Not my lava, not my volcano. We are in Hawaii. Nicole, this one's for you. Not my dink, not my pickleball court. Not my pasture, not my cow. Now, obviously, those are all saying the same thing. The point isn't that I don't care. The point is that I don't have to carry it. I can care, I can support, I can listen, encourage, but I don't have to take ownership. That's because not every problem is mine to solve. Not every emotion is mine to feel. Not every burden is mine to bear. I still care deeply about people. I just no longer feel obligated to carry what was never mine to begin with.
Beautiful. Yes, I need that one. Okay, Jen, what's one hack to realize when you're carrying somebody else's stuff that's not your own?
Oh gosh, I find that I feel it physically in my body. So my body is the first to respond. It can either happen in my gut, and I don't mean like, ooh, spidey sense. I mean, I literally have a stomach ache. Am I doing it right for them? Am I doing enough? And then the second tell all is I'm worried more about what I'm doing than how they're doing. That's how I recognize, oh, I'm not helping them at all. I'm concerned about me, me, me. That's where that ego comes in that I was talking about. And when in fact, people mostly just need validation and an attempt at understanding. They really don't want or need to be fixed. And comparing trauma isn't the way to help any of that. So just be able to set it aside. To answer your question, I would say that my hack is listening to my body, having the awareness to understand that I'm more involved than I really need to be. And I'm not in a place to where I can serve. I'm in a place where I'm concerned about how or what I'm doing. That's the hack. Listen to your body.
That's a good answer. It's probably in a different spot for different people, but to be aware of what your spot is so then you can recognize it as you move forward.
Yes.
That's a great hack. I like that. All right. My third hack I swear by is exercise. And while most people immediately think about physical health, that's actually not the biggest benefit for me. The first benefit is what it does for my mind. Exercise helps me stay grounded. It helps me stay focused on where I want to direct my energy instead of getting pulled into drama, negativity, or things I can't control. Honestly, exercise makes it so I can do all the mental things that we talk about. Life is always going to have challenges, but exercise helps me show up to those challenges from a stronger mental and emotional place. I genuinely notice the difference when I'm consistent with my exercise. The second benefit is long-term health. As I've gotten older, the phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it, feels a lot less theoretical and a lot more real. And most of the time, we're talking about just being able to walk. I want to stay active. I want to stay mobile. I want to continue doing things I love for as many years as possible. And exercise isn't just about how I feel today. It's actually an investment in the future version of myself. And the third benefit for me is strength. As women age, maintaining muscle becomes increasingly important. Strong muscles help support strong bones. They improve your balance. They improve your stability. They help us remain independent. For me, strength is less about appearance and really more about capability. I work out for strength. I work out for agility of body, and I work out for agility of mind. Because my goal isn't simply to get older. My goal is to age well. And exercise is one of the most powerful tools I know to help make that happen.
Hear, hear. No notes, just yes.
Yes.
What's your favorite exercise, Nicole? What's your go-to if you've got to pound something out?
Okay, if I got to pound something out, I love step classes. The reason that I love step classes is because it's coordination that I can do. When I was teaching exercise in my 20s, well, I was uncoordinated from a young age. I'm really tall, so everybody's like, we want to pick her on my basketball team. Well, they would only do that once, and then they would never pick me again because I had no coordination. Exercise brought coordination into my life, and step, because you have a board you're stepping on, you must be coordinated. So it has completely changed my life. Now the experience is I'm going back to that 20-something self and being able to do something that's so muscle memory for me that it's almost nostalgic. So step is by far my favorite. It is not the only thing I do by any means, but I love it.
Yeah. Nicole's going to outlive all of us.
I don't know about that. We'll see. I just want to live well.
I hear you.
As you get older, you have more friends that are older and you see what aging does to us. And I want to age well. I don't care if I live a long time. I just want all of the years I live to be as healthy as possible.
Yes.
Because then I can travel.
There you go. I get it. It's full circle here.
It's full circle.
Yeah. All right. So these are the first 3 life hacks that Nicole and I swear by. None of them are revolutionary. They're not secrets, and they're definitely not shortcuts, but they've each had a profound impact on how we experience our lives. They help us stay curious. They help us stay intentional, and they help us continue becoming the people we want to be. Because at the end of the day, I don't think the quality of our lives is built by a few giant decisions. It's built by the things we consistently return to. the habits, the practices, and the choices that help us feel more aligned with who we are and how we want to live.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. My first takeaway, I loved when you said healthy support is not the same as unhealthy ownership. I've never thought of it that way. That's just really smart. Of your three things, that was the one that I'm the worst at. Carrying other people's scraps. I'm going to work on that. Good one. I don't have to carry the backpack.
Yeah. And choose the fun one. Not my cow, not my pasture, whatever works for you.
Like that. Not my circus, not my clowns. That's what we say in our house. Yeah. That's so fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
I continue to come back to your values-based life. I never lived that way because I couldn't tell you that I could point to any one family value that my family had growing up. Knowing you and watching the way you live and understanding so clearly what that means, we've implemented them in our lives. I can certainly see how it does make life easier. Does that align with what's truly important with me? If it does not, it's an easy, nope, it doesn't fit. It's okay. Yeah. There's no guilt surrounding that because as you said, we really are all trying to live our best lives and that's going to look different for everybody. I really like when you continue to define and redefine understanding your values, how they could shift, move, change, and really continuing to drill down into if it doesn't fit, I'm okay with that. Since I've known you, I have incorporated that more into my family. Paul and I talk about them much more, and we have open conversations with our children about what their individual values might be and what ours as a family are. I have seen a shift actively in our family because of that. So thank you for still living it.
I'm glad to hear that. Most people already have values. They're just not clear that that's what they are.
Yeah.
But then when you start actually focusing on it, because what we focus on expands, then you can get really into it. And I love to hear people's lives are better because they understand what they value. You have strong values already. Yes. Strong values around family, strong values around the way you want to raise your kids. I love watching you implement things. Yeah, focusing on it. Thank you. Questions.
This is a really great episode because we have gotten to ask a few questions along the way. Before our question portion, Nicole, what is one mode of self-expression that you have been afraid to try?
Mode of self-expression. Okay, here's what I'll go with. Scream therapy. I don't know if it's fear as much as like, I don't know if I want to face that. I might scream a lot. I might have a lot to say.
That's probably what it's for. Okay.
I don't know. I think I would go with that one because when it comes to self-expression, I'm really not shy about expressing myself. I'm the person who will dance at a party. I'm too old to have fear anymore is kind of the way I approach things. If I want to do it, I'm going to freaking do it. What's the worst thing? Somebody's going to be like, oh, you look like an idiot. No shit, I do. Who cares? I don't care. I'm not here to look great. I'm here to have fun.
But if you adopt any one of my life hacks, then none of those comments will matter anyway.
Yeah, what do I care? Yeah, that's more about you than me.
So here's what you're going to do, Nicole. Tonight, scream into your pillow.
Okay.
Just let it out.
Now, that's not to say I haven't screamed before. Okay, well, I will try that. I like it. Okay, I know you love a would you rather. So Jen, would you rather be reincarnated as a fly or just stop existing when you die?
Ooh, probably just stop existing. I mean, I know what I do to flies, and that doesn't sound like a happy future death. So also, they hang around doo-doo like way too much.
A lot.
I'm confident in my answer of just cease to exist. End scene. Done. I'm good with that. Nothing about that scares me.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on Lessons of the Journey. Next week, we are back with part 2. We'll each be sharing the final 2 habits we swear by, the things that continue to make meaningful difference in our lives year after year. And we have a little bonus for you as well. We'll be sharing a few habits we both agree deserve an honorable mention, something that has had a surprisingly big impact on both our lives. So if you've been thinking about the habits, mindsets, and practices that have shaped your own life, spend some time reflecting on them this week. You may discover that some of your greatest life hacks have been hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love it if you'd follow the podcast, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might benefit from it. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep embracing the journey. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Write your lines with passion, let your spirit freely roam. The lessons of your journey